we got to talk about the season 2 trailer. It just dropped today. I got to tell you, the song was the best part of it. The Revolution Starts Now by, what's the guy's name again?
Steve Earle.
Steve Earle. That is now on my Spotify playlist. It should be on yours. So very exciting. Yeah, that's all I have to say. The music was great. No. About what
song.
Go ahead.
That song actually was, I don't know if you looked at a little bit of the lyrics or anything or the background, but that song was originally written for the second Bush term, George W. So that's what it is in response to. So it kind of fits like where this is going to.
Fool me once, shame on you.
Who throws a shoe? Honestly.
It's like symmetry. It rhymes, or whatever.
Yeah.
What does he say? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, no, what George Lucas said something, but it doesn't. It's like it didn't. It's not like a perfect quote.
He says it's like poetry. It rhymes.
Again, it's like poetry. So if they rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that trailer was fantastic. I loved it.
Shoff, kick us off, man. Dive in. I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I've been so excited about Andor. I would say in terms of Star Wars shows on TV, in terms of writing, in terms of like its overall like production, I think it's the best, honestly. Like, yes, Mandalorian gets a lot of attention as being like the best Star Wars TV show, but I would argue that Andor is better written, better performed, and is a more polished show overall from start to finish, because I think it has a very clear vision, and that like the showrunner, the writing, all of it's very consistent. And so like, because of that, I've been so excited about season 2, and then knowing that how well it leads into Rogue One, I'm like, this is going to be so much fun, like to see this. And so seeing the trailer today was freaking awesome, and it really just got me excited for what's to come. And then seeing that they had dropped like the episode release schedule, and seeing that it's being dropped in like in triplets, I'm just so thrilled that we don't have to wait like a week between episodes. We get a nice chunk at each time, and Disney Plus has kind of been doing that lately with various shows, and I'm really enjoying that. So
yeah, we're going to talk about that too, the change in how they're releasing this stuff, because my business mind, my business hat comes on, and I start thinking about this is all about, subscriber retention and things like that. But what stood out to me, and Vactor and I were talking about this earlier, was the marquees of the quotes from the different sites that really echoed how wonderful the first season of Andor was and is. And we're obviously going to talk about that when we talk about the prison arc later. But it's like, I think it really echoed how we all feel. I mean, we said this on the last couple of Trust in the Force episodes, where it's like, I don't know how Stellan Skarsgård didn't get an Emmy for this,
Yeah.
Like his character.
It's crazy.
It's frustrating to me. And like, you sent me a text showing that I think it was Variety has him listed as one of the top 85 TV characters of like the decade or something. I mean, think about how many shows and things like that have come up over, that period of time in 10 years. And he's 85 out of 100. I mean, I know he's not like number one, but I mean, still, that's pretty remarkable. So
this was the top 100 greatest TV performances of the 21st century. So you're talking about the century of television, and for him to get 85, there's no other Star Wars performance on the list. So that's pretty good. And this show has been racking up the critic accolades, like you said, on the marquees, in between the shots. Everything is like, critics love this show. It's just audiences, I don't think, flock to it, like Shoff said, like to Mandalorian, where Grogu is everywhere. You see lunchboxes, toys, and it feels like the pop culture imprint of Mandalorian is deep, but Andor, it's more like for us, like real hardcore Star Wars fans, and then critics are loving Andor. But I think this trailer does a lot to pull in those people who thought the first season was boring or slow or wasn't Star Wars, all of those people, I think this trailer is specifically aimed at them, and it is a fantastic trailer. I don't know if the season is going to be like that because it's quite a departure from the first season of Andor. But if you want to get butts in seats, they had the music was great, the cuts were great, the shots were great, and then it's kind of emphasizing the action. So there's no like slow moments. And then interspersed in between those, hey guys, the critics loved it.
Yeah.
This show was great if you didn't watch season 1. So
They're
I
like,
think,
why the heck did you sleep on this one? What's
Yeah.
wrong with you? And honestly, anybody who says that Andor is not Star Wars is not a true Star Wars fan. That's my hot take. It doesn't have to have a magical force, doesn't have to have lightsabers to be Star Wars. In fact, I think this show is the most Star Wars because you can't have Star Wars without the rebellion. You can't have that whole concept of an evil empire and what it takes to overthrow something of that size. It's not just Jedi who do that. It's not just Luke. It's not, it's not Han Solo.
Yep.
Like, their stories are important, but I think the tiny, like the little people, the ones that are on the ground doing like the guerrilla warfare, like, Saw Gerrera or, his faction and all the other rebel cells that are, working together, but separate. Like, that's the interesting story, because that's really how you dismantle something so large and amorphous as the Empire is. Like,
Right. One of the best lines,
that's a fascinating story.
one of the best lines we talked about in our previous episodes was, when Andor looks at Luthen and says, "What do you mean? You just walk in there. They don't look at you. They don't talk to you. They're so arrogant. Like, the writing is so good. It's so great. What I'm most excited about this season, and we got to move on to the meat of the show, but what I'm most excited about this season, what this trailer showed for me is, it shows the time jumps that they they said that this season narratively it'd be a group of 3 episodes, and each chunk would be a jump in time. And I'm really excited about that. I think narratively that's really neat. You don't see a lot of scripted TV doing that. And I think what's really cool about Andor, just in general, and you picked up on the production scale, just in the action beats and all that from the trailer. I'm really into like Yellowstone and Landman and like the Taylor Sheridan universe and stuff like that. And one thing that I love about that show is even though it's a drama that's rooted in these characters and what's going on, the scale of the show, like in the season 2 premiere of 1923, like they spend basically like a minute and a half of like these beautiful shots of mountains to really like engross you into this environment, of where these people are and the time that they're in. And I love that about the Andor show, is that it really puts us into the situation, of what's going on. That to me is Star Wars. So to your point, Schaff, those who don't think Andor is Star Wars, I just think they're crazy, because it is. It is the Civil War,
Yeah.
And okay, we're not getting the Battle of Gettysburg, right? The big stuff. We're getting more of the Battle of Antietam, but it still all has like weight in the story of the Civil War,
100%.
And so
I think it's kind of like Hamilton. Like, everyone loves Hamilton because it's about these characters and sort of how they're starting a revolution, but you're seeing it from like the personal, like interpersonal experiences and relationships within people. And Andor is doing that too. And it works on a musical, and something as big as a Broadway musical is, but for whatever reason, Star Wars fans won't accept it, or at least some won't, because it doesn't have the Force. It doesn't have lightsaber battles and Jedi and the Sith. And I'm just like, that's unfortunate.
I'm convinced Mandalorian would not have been successful if it wasn't for Grogu. I think I really truly believe this, and maybe we save this for a podcast for another day, and I'll tease it here. But I think Baby Yoda was so compelling. It's like, whoa, what? There's another one. and it looks like Yoda and it's a baby and it's cute and it's funny and oh, what is all this? Like that was the hook. And it was a chess piece that worked, because if it didn't work, it would have been Jar Jar Binks, right? But it wasn't. It was what drew the non-Star Wars fans into Mandalorian, and it was I remember it was written everywhere. Everybody was talking about it. Social media, articles, it was Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda. And then it was, and I mean, my kids have the stuffed animal, you know what I mean? So it's like, that was what I think propelled Mandalorian into what it was. But you can see the point of diminishing returns has already happened with Mandalorian, right? Whereas Andor, I think we're still on the front side of the curve here. Anyway, Andor season 2, April 22nd. That's the first episode,
Yes.
first 3 episodes. Yeah.